Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. A particularly beautiful woman is a source of terror. As a rule, a beautiful woman is a terrible disappointment. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better take things as they come along with patience and equanimity. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The pendulum of the mind alternates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, there love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. We are born at a given moment, in a given place and, like vintage years of wine, we have the qualities of the year and of the season of which we are born. Astrology does not lay claim to anything more. It all depends on how we look at things, and not how they are in themselves. One looks back with appreciation to the brilliant teachers, but with gratitude to those who touched our human feelings. The curriculum is so much necessary raw material, but warmth is the vital element for the growing plant and for the soul of the child. The word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol or morphine or idealism. Through pride we are ever deceiving ourselves. But deep down below the surface of the average conscience a still, small voice says to us, something is out of tune. The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. The most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed. It is just these intense conflicts and their conflagration which are needed to produce valuable and lasting results. Dreams are the guiding words of the soul. Why should I henceforth not love my dreams and not make their riddling images into objects of my daily consideration? I have treated many hundreds of patients. Among those in the second half of life, that is to say, over 35, there has not been one whose problem in the last resort was not that of finding a religious outlook on life. Man is not a machine that can be remodeled for quite other purposes as occasion demands, in the hope that it will go on functioning as regularly as before but in a quite different way. He carries his whole history with him, in his very structure is written the history of mankind. A human being would certainly not grow to be 70 or 80 years old if this longevity had no meaning for the species. The afternoon of human life must also have a significance of its own and cannot be merely a pitiful appendage to life's morning. Nobody, as long as he moves about among the chaotic currents of life, is without trouble. Man's task is to become conscious of the contents that press upward from the unconscious. Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. Masses are always breeding grounds of psychic epidemics. A scream is always just that, a noise and not music. The debt we owe to the play of imagination is incalculable. We deem those happy who from the experience of life have learnt to bear its ills without being overcome by them. Shrinking away from death is something unhealthy and abnormal which robs the second half of life of its purpose. A psychoneurosis must be understood, ultimately, as the suffering of a soul which has not discovered its meaning. Great talents are the most lovely and often the most dangerous fruits on the tree of humanity. They hang upon the most slender twigs that are easily snapped off. Mistakes are, after all, the foundations of truth, and if a man does not know what a thing is, it is at least an increase in knowledge if he knows what it is not. In my case, Pilgrim's Progress consisted in my having to climb down 1,000 ladders until I could reach out my hand to the little clod of earth that I am. Grounded in the natural philosophy of the Middle Ages, alchemy formed a bridge, on the one hand into the past, to Gnosticism, and on the other into the future, to the modern psychology of the unconscious. Everyone knows nowadays that people have complexes. What is not so well known, though far more important theoretically, is that complexes can have us. Sometimes, indeed, there is such a discrepancy between the genius and his human qualities that one has to ask oneself whether a little less talent might not have been better. We are in a far better position to observe instincts in animals or in primitives than in ourselves. This is due to the fact that we have grown accustomed to scrutinizing our own actions and to seeking rational explanations for them.